Alright boys, here we go. Flat Rock round 9 with NCHSA. Running Sportsman in the morning because I hate waiting for the afternoon race. I get an okay start. I'm still learning how to start with just the button, but make it out of the start with third into the woods, which isn't too bad. This track was really cool. There was a lot of elevation. It was kind of slick where you can see that there was a lot of... It was mud, but it wasn't really deep. It was just surface level mud, which just really kind of made it like riding on ice, and then stippled inside the ice was rocks. And so you'd have to really be particular about choosing your lines, especially on some of the higher sections of the course, because there were these big areas of exposed rock, not slab, but you know, baby head rocks that you could really get shot off into the woods on. I like how technical this track was, and I'm thinking the next Mid-East track is supposed to be technical like this, and it makes me really excited because I really like riding these kind of courses. I still feel like watching my videos that I'm not moving very quickly. There's no sense of speed really. And this is the first lap. This was my fastest lap. And I don't know how to make the sense of speed come across in the video, but we were rolling here. And the thing that I really wanted to talk about during this whole video was me trying to learn how to pass in my progression and the things I'm noticing. You'll see when I come up here that I kind of get a launch on this guy because we're coming into a hill climb, and I could have passed him. I should have just kept pushing, but I backed off because I didn't want to crowd him. And in the race, this series is different because in this race it doesn't really make that big a difference for me if I pass or don't pass, but I'm really just using these races as practice for passing and getting good seat time for my bike. But you see later on that I'm in the woods with him, and I don't generally, you know, holler people down. I'm not going to scream at you over and over and over again. I'll give you one yell and then I start looking for ways around you, unless it becomes apparent that you're not paying attention to get out of the way. And it's not their job to pull over. I'm not looking for that. I just really want you to be aware that I'm there, and if I'm really crowding you, I just need I need a foot, you know, I just need enough for my bars to clear. And luckily on this case there was somebody standing there to give me the point out the outside line, which made it really easy to get by. Track was 8 miles long, 7 miles long, and I was on the lead lap to run 5 laps and ended up only running 4. I ended up running 4 laps because my seat bolt came out, and I actually ended up losing my seat on the 3rd lap and had to run the whole 4th lap with no seat. So this section here, they actually took this out of the afternoon race. This was a fairly gnarly hill, and like always, GoPro doesn't really do it any justice, but between that surface level of mud and the rocks and roots and how steep this hill was, it was causing a lot of problems. And this is the morning race, so these are all A and B riders, and I don't think there's any C riders in the beginning in the morning, but we managed the hill and make it through. I didn't make it that cleanly the next time. This is lap 2. You can watch, I try to take a different line, something gets me all flung sideways, and then there I go rolling down the hill. The other thing I'm learning about this bike is that the Recluse, while it's great for keeping the bike running, when you're trying to start in a position where you crashed, the Recluse does nothing, and I'm not aware of that, I guess, so this is what caused me to roll back and crash again, is that I wasn't ready for the bike to just roll. I'm used to having some of that, you know, bikes in gear resistance. And everybody was saying, you know, watch the C guys because they're going to, you know, struggle and flail, but there's plenty of that going on here. Bike meet bushes. So what I ended up doing is getting my wits about me again, and I just go back over to the place where I took up before and make it up that same line. I don't know why I didn't do this every time, because I knew I could have made it here. I just, for whatever reason, decided I was going to try another line every lap of this course. This upper section is one of those places where I was telling you that there was exposed rocks, and then it was a hillside into the trail, and then down the other side was a ravine. You just go into a hole. So slick rocks plus a drop off is not a good idea. You can kind of get deflected really easily and shot off into the rocks. So you had to be real particular about where you were going. I don't know if everybody saw it, but like Ron Awad put up a video of the carnage that was happening in the afternoon race at that hill, that was all it was. It was just an uphill into a turn, and you can go way high over it, or you can go on the inside. And you can go way high and clear it, or you could actually jump that log, but I never thought about that, jumping the log part. This is another section where it's more about me not committing to passing somebody. I talk to people who are faster and ask them, you know, hey, how can I get better about passing? And everybody says, you gotta, if you can catch somebody, you can pass somebody. So make sure that you commit to the pass, because there I could have passed him. On this section here, I probably could have made a move on him and put some pressure on him. I just end up hanging out behind people too long, and I really do think it slows me down. And the thing I've also got to realize is that I need to not be allowing their riding to jeopardize mine. If they crash, then I've got to watch out for that, but I need to not get into the same habit I get into where I get behind somebody and then I tend to take their lines. I need to start looking for ways around ways around somebody if I'm trying to pass. And that's what I was doing there. I should have just committed to it. I could have slid out in front of him, but that section was really, really slick, and so was this following downhill. But I noticed on in this race that I was a little more comfortable on some of these really slick downhills than other people, which made up a lot of places for me where I could, you know, coast past somebody on a downhill instead of locking my brakes all the way up. Overall, this race was a lot of fun. It was a lot different than some of the other terrain we've had, and it's just, I feel like I say it every time we ride, but I really do just enjoy, I like, you know, good, tight, single track, technical trails, and the stuff that's not super, super fast, but fast enough that you can get a good run, and you feel like you were racing, you know. I really like these sections of the trail where they had these, you know, 180-degree turn up another section, up another hill where you don't have a lot of run up. And it caused problems because you'd come up with somebody who didn't know how to handle it, or was in another rider that couldn't negotiate that area, and it would cause a wreck or cause a bottleneck. And it happened a couple times, but you just had to be really confident about picking your lines and also keep your momentum going so you can, you know, push yourself up the hill instead of relying on luck pretty much. Everything on a GoPro just gets flattened out, so this was a little climb, but it was real rooty and off camber, so if you weren't particular about where you were putting your bike or putting your front tire, you'd kind of slide off the hill, and I do that here where I get a little off the main line and it slows me down. This is one of those places where I had been more, if I had been more committed to passing, I could have gotten by. But this section here with these three roots, this ended up being a big problem later on because those roots get exposed and all they turn into is it's ice. So you hit it, if you don't clear all the roots, you just bounce off into the woods. And did it clean every other lap past this, but just this one time it caught me, and I saw it catch a lot of other people also. Places like this where I'm behind another rider and I could have just, you know, pushed, and then he lets me by. So this is what I'm looking for, is this kind of, I don't need you to stop. I don't need you to, you know, if I'm trying to get by, I don't need you to come to a complete stop. All I'm really looking for is enough space for me to pass, because it's my job to do it safely. It's not your job to stop moving. You're racing too. And that's why I try not to, I don't really scream at people, but unless it's, you know, way later in the race or something. And this is one of those downhill sections where it was like, I know I can make up time because I'm not scared to throw myself down a hill. The other thing I've got to learn besides just the passing thing is that I really need to work on more riding in a single rut trail like this, where there's like one hard rut in the trail. I'm just not good at it. It's just something I got to practice. I left this section in because this was my favorite section of the course, or one of my favorite sections of the course. It was a nice climb. It was pretty tight, single track. Roots always catch you off guard, so you just got to know where you're putting your wheels. And this was just an interesting part of the course, and I think it was towards the top of the hill that the course kind of snaked its way up and down. So like I was saying before about passing, is that I don't need you to stop. I don't need you to get out. I don't need you to just slide out of the way. So this guy had been rev bombing the guy in the Yamaha in front of him, and then he would drop back and they'd catch back up. And he rev bombed and finally made the pass. I should have made that pass also and gotten ahead and stayed behind the dude in the red and yellow. Orange and yellow, I don't know what color it is. Should have stayed ahead of him, but I didn't. So I had to make up the space here, make a pass. And then I catch up to this person again, and you'll see in a second, I catch back up to him, and I don't crowd, I'm not pushing, I just give him one yell, and he slams on his brakes. And you're not helping anybody, you know, you're just, all you've become is an obstacle, and I'm sorry you're like annoyed or whatever, but get out of the way. You're not helping anybody by stopping in the middle of the trail. Either way, it was just not the way to handle that. If anybody gets anything from this, if you're gonna go and race, learn to pass and learn to be passed, because there's always gonna be somebody faster. Unless you're the #1 overall guy, there's always gonna be somebody faster, and you're just never gonna escape that fact. So, being able to be passed well while also making safe passes is going to be better for everybody, and understand the perspective of it, that you're doing it for fun. There's no reason to want to get in a fight with somebody over a pass. The last section coming up into scoring, to me, wasn't that great. I didn't really enjoy it. It was kind of just a nondescript section. The last hill here was where everybody came to watch the carnage, and if they would have walked out in the woods, there was so much more to see. It was overall a great track. I didn't have any complaints about it at all, especially for the conditions that we were expecting, which is what it seems like a lot of the time, and what's making me not be afraid to go to a race where it's rained in the recent past, because I'm not going to let the weather just dictate how I have fun. So this is coming into scoring, and that was all first lap. I ended up first out of, I think it was 8 in Sportsman and 58th overall in the morning. The next race is a Mid-East race at Enola, and I hope I see everybody there. Peace.